Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the channel, and we're here for another quickfire. Well, not quickfire, another bit of a news update for the week. I'm not on me today, tonight rather. Tonight I am with Chris. Say hello, Chris.
Hello.
And we're just going to quickly go over some of the news points that have been making the rounds. Well, a few of the ones that have been making the rounds earlier in the week, and ones that have developed today. Well, today being the 18th of the 3rd. It's been a bit of a good week for Dark Eldar, because obviously we know their codex is coming out at the end. Well, pre-orders are coming out at the end of the week, and you could be able to lay down your money for your favourite elves in the spiky leather armor. So I know people are looking forward to that. They've been dropping previews, and I actually can't get my words out. I wanted to cover these previews on a daily basis as they came out, but events conspired against me, really. But there's been some nice previews coming out for the Dark Eldar. They showed, the first one off this week was just basically like a rundown list of some of the ways that you can build the Dark Eldar force and a few relics and how you can upgrade your Archon and things like that. The second one was more focused on the new war zone that's come out, the one which involves the Admech and the Death Guard. This isn't Dark Eldar news, this is more 40k news. And this one you found particularly interesting, didn't you, Chris? Because of what it looks like a way to have it looks something like a preset sort of like force, isn't it? But you get bonuses for it.
Yeah, it looks to be, yeah. Let me just pull it up again. But yeah, I think it just allows you to have more of a themed force. I know it's obviously ties into the current act and the campaign that they've got going on, but these things tend to filter over into the wider game anyway. And I think it's an interesting way, again, of just building more narrative gameplay, or kind of trying to encourage more narrative gameplay, because you get bonuses for, taking on these particular forces. Described forces, and perhaps then also encourages more balanced play. So, yeah.
Well, it's hard to maintain like a balanced play in 40k just because it's got so many moving parts. I mean, chess for most part is not completely 100% balanced. The person who goes first will always have the advantage.
Yeah, I just mean it from the point of view, I guess, of trying to avoid soup. That sort of thing. I know they've done other things with the recent updates, etc. And I think with 9th edition, even when that came out, to try and discourage soup lists. I think they're still going on, but then again, it's hard to tell what's really going on with the past 12 months and what is going to be still current and what's going to be used. So it'd be interesting to see how, I guess, the more competitive scene. I know we don't play competitive, but it'd be interesting to see how all that how all that's changed when people can go back to playing competitively.
I did mention briefly before we started recording this video that I always feel with these campaign books, same with the Vigilus one, that you're always sort of, I want to play these campaigns because obviously I want to play the story and that kind of thing, but I always find it a bit restrictive with the fact that you can only have certain factions there, because it doesn't make sense for just every faction to just rock up and and fight war. It's like they're barely mentioned, if at all, really. I know this is only Act 1, and that's maybe is like an ongoing narrative it could develop. But I always found these kind of things sort of restrictive. I mean, the example I know you gave, Chris, was like the Death Guard one, mentioning Typhus. Now he prefers sort of like a massed infantry assault, which is very thematic, and I like the sound of that. But I wonder how narratively fitting it would be if you had sort of like this kind of thing, which could include every faction. I mean, I think you'd have to jump through some extreme narrative hoops to have a campaign which involves every faction in the 40k universe. It would. I think there'd be some major suspension of disbelief for that to go down, which is why I think they only focus on a few factions per sort of campaign. I just think it, because obviously we have our own small, like, gaming clique, as it were. I think it's a bit of it's always a bit let down. It's like, who are the factions in this campaign? we don't. That's not all of ours, and one of ours even mentioned. It's always a bit of a letdown like that.
Yeah, but again, I mean, it's not like this is the only form of the game, is that this is just one additional aspect to it now, I guess, or just an extra arm to it. It's just something, again, thematic, and something that you can get a little bit more absorbed into, that kind of dives into and follows a certain storyline. It's for people that really get absorbed into, I guess, the narrative, as well as obviously enjoying the game. But it allows them kind of to just, I guess, be more involved in the story as it develops. So, I mean, I think you'll probably find that over the course of this campaign, you'll see more of the other races and factions come into it. What I quite like to see, I know what you mean before, because like in 8th edition, we only saw, how many campaigns were there? Like 1, 2, maybe? I can't remember.
There was Vigilus, I think, but I don't quote me on that. That one might have been 9th as well. And was it the Fate of something or other? It was that global one where people gave in their scores. I really enjoyed that. I thought that was quite clever. People gave in the scores, and then obviously affected the narrative.
Did that incorporate all races at that point? I can't remember.
You could put your victory, if you were a Chaos player or Chaos sort of side, you win to go to Chaos, and if you're Imperium, obviously you win to go to Imperium. And like third party Xeno races, they could like dictate where their points go, who they'd favour. So no, it doesn't really include everyone, but everyone could take part in it, kind of thing.
What I'd like to see then, probably going forward, because it doesn't sound like, again, every race has the opportunity to feed into different campaigns over the course of an edition. So it'd be nice to see it. And you are starting to see an acceleration of output from GW in all areas of the hobby, not just the game. But it'd be nice to see them sort of keep accelerating and keep putting out more and more campaigns, so that basically every race has its own campaign or is included within a campaign over the course of an edition before the next one comes out, if you know what I mean. So you kind of, you've got those campaigns that you can fall back on with those edition rules if you want to, rather than thinking, oh, okay, well, my race was included in a campaign, but that was 2 editions ago, so how do I apply that campaign to the current rules? Or, you know, it's just trying to, I guess, just get everyone involved a little bit more. So yeah, I quite like to see them kind of bring more of these out for that just gets everyone involved.
Well, you know, speaking of the narrative, this kind of like brings us up to sort of the most recent sort of preview, and it is a Drukhari preview. Basically, this is the thing that I find most interesting. It's like I've said before, I'll say it again. Like Crusade is probably my favorite way to play 40k. It was before, obviously, you know, the last 12 months happened, and I think 40k Crusade is sort of like a developing sort of thing that GW were doing, because they released basically a preview of how the Drukhari will work in the realms of Crusade games and how they'd sort of evolve. And looking back on, obviously, Jay's Necron Crusade sort of trappings and trickery, and, you know, how they play, it seems like a lot more developed, at least from the preview. Basically, what they're trying to build up is basically, as a Dark Eldar player, basically, when you play a game, that's you going on a real space raid, and you earn raiding points or resource acquisition points, and you can spend them in the Dark City to upgrade essentially your home base, your territory, to get better equipment, to go on to make you more effective on going real space raiding. And in this preview here, there's this great little way that Drukhari players, if they face off against one another, they can have a way of like taking each other's territory. But we'll go. I think that's really, really good. And I think if GW develop these Crusade, you know, it's not balanced, obviously, but it's very narratively fun, and I do enjoy things like this. So it'll be interesting to see how this develops. But we're going to go. We're going to explain, obviously, the points and break them down. So the first one we've got is soul searching, and basically what this is basically a soul trap. basically capturing the souls of a slain character. I'll read the passage out. Soul traps vary in size and appearance, from a pyramidal prisms to jeweled skulls engraved with vampiric runes, but also to capture the spirit essence of powerful enemies and empower the bear with stolen energies. Obviously, Dark Eldar's shtick is getting stronger on the pain of others. Purchase this requisition once after the battle in which an enemy character you knew was destroyed by a melee attack made by an Archon model from your army. Add 1 soul point to that Archon's model on the Crusade card. Once that model has 5 soul points, you can remove them and add 1 of that model's attack, strength, toughness, and leadership characteristics. If you do so, increase the Archon's model Crusade points value by 2, and you cannot select the Archon model for this requisition again. So basically, this allows your Archon to obviously hunt down characters, and
he's effectively, he's going Super Saiyan, isn't he? In a way.
Yeah. Basically, you can increase attack, strength, toughness, and leadership all by 1 across the board. It looks like, unless I'm reading that wrong. But you can't do it again.
You are reading that right. Yeah.
Yeah. So you send your Archon out, and you want him to like cut down, which is quite thematic as well. To go down there and hunt the characters to trap their souls to make him stronger, which is it's a pretty very very nice fluffy way of playing the Dark Eldar. Now, this is going on to the sort of like the base building. I want to say mechanic. Basically, it says here, as you fight battles, you claim raid spoil points, which you could spend to dominate territories in Comoria. Maybe you'll end up with a toxin distillery to supply your troops with even deadlier poisons. It's up to you whether you make a single malt or blended toxins, though. Toxin distilleries. Commanding, I'm guessing this is something you can buy. Commanding hundreds of alchemists and venom refineries. This Lord Kabalites carry a vial of experimental poisons. Once per battle in your command phase, if your Ascendant Lord is on the battlefield, you can select 1 Cabal unit from your army. Until the end of the turn, any poison weapons this unit is equipped with gain the Poison Weapon 2+ ability. That's really good.
Yep.
That's really good. So that's all Kabalite warriors. I think their splinter rifles are poisoned anyway. So Kabalite warriors can now wound anything on like poison 2+. If poison is still working the way I think it does, so you wound things on a 2+. So you're hitting on 3s, I think. And then you're going to be wounding anything on 2+. Kabalite Warriors. That is really fucking good.
That's
really good.
Yeah. Nasty.
Yeah. And again, it goes into that you're going out and you're getting spoils to buy upgrades for your base or your territory. This is the one I thought was quite nice. If you're 2 Drukhari players fighting off, it's one thing claiming territory, but it's another thing entirely keeping hold of it. If your Crusade force faces off against another Drukhari one, you're in danger of losing one of your hard-in territories, of course. Since you're such a criminal genius, you'll be the one taking theirs. The best method of this is assert authority, 1 raid spoil. The best method of accumulating new territory for yourself is to take 1 from your closest rivals, thus ensuring that your power grows and their diminishes. If your order of battle contains an Ascendant Lord Archon unit, if you win the battle against an army that includes an Ascendant Lord unit, you can select 1 territory that Ascendant Lord controls, add that territory to your list of territories claimed. Your opponent must remove it from their list of territories claimed. So you could have entire games or entire campaigns just basically of gangs fighting it out in the Dark City, just like claiming each other's territories.
Yeah, I do like that. It is again very fluffy, isn't it? And it's allowing you just to build your own campaigns within this Crusade system, which I quite like. But it doesn't seem restrictive. If it keeps going like this anyway, and other races and factions have a similar sort of design, I can just see this being like it's just unlike, obviously, because what we were talking about before with the Death Guard and that particular campaign that's been released, that's for the wider 40k game, isn't it? That's for obviously your normal 40k battles. Whereas with this in Crusade, it just allows you to kind of create your own little story and narratives, doesn't it? Through these little extra bits. So yeah, I do quite like that. I mean, you and Jay have had, because it's only been you and Jay that have played the Crusade so far out of the 3 of us. But you guys have got a bit of a sort of a narrative going on between your characters, haven't you? Dylan and I forget what James is called now.
Is Overlord Krang.
Yeah, and that ridiculously long title that he's now achieved.
Yeah, for people who don't know, in the Necron Crusade sort of rule setting, every time you win a rule, your Lord can have an additional title on his title. So, by the time you've won like 20 games, you've got like 20 additional titles, like Krang, the Conqueror of Stars, the Subjugator of Worlds, and that kind of thing going on and on and on. For like every time he wins something. But like I said to you before, the Necron one doesn't seem as developed as like the new codexes are sort of starting to seem. But you're right. There is like developing narrative, which is why I think it's a really good way to play the game of 40k, because it really gets you in that sort of mindset of the 40k universe. But reading on, we've got Enhancements of Evil. Basically, you've got ways to upgrade your weapons with like certain exclusive resources. I think one of them is called Agonite. This venom spreads waves of agony so intense that even the most robust physiologies are overwhelmed with pain. Each time an attack is made with this weapon, rules that ignore wounds cannot be used. So that's basically if you got like ways of like ignoring like wounds, then that's null and void against something that's equipped with Agonite. It just obviously overpowers it. It's that painful. And we've got the last one is a relic. It's like a one-time use sort of thing. This is a good one. A soul shard grenade. Crafted from the captured spirit stones of Eldar Psychers, this grenade houses a soul that has been tortured to the point of madness. When thrown into the foe, the housing shatters as the mindless soul within lashes out, enacting revenge on the first living thing it could find. Once per battle at the end of your movement phase, the bearer can use this relic. If it does so, select one enemy unit within 6 of the bearer, and roll number of d6 equal to the number of models in the unit, up to a maximum of 15. Character units count as 5. Vehicle and monster units count as 10. If the enemy unit is a Psyker, add 1 to each result. For each result of a 6+, that one enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound. So, you've got it's a decent little grenade there, one-time use. If you're feeling like buying it, I'm sure there's going to be other like relics in the codex as well, in the codex as well for Crusade. But yeah, I mean, it just seems like GW is shaping up the Crusade aspect of the 40k games to be more robust with each new codex release, and it's going to be interesting to see. I know we were saying this before starting the video, but it's going to be interesting to see for other races. I mean, like I can only imagine, like you're interested to see if they do one sort of like a World Eater sort of corn themed one. What would you like to see in that?
To be honest, I don't know, because I've only just really started down the path of Khorne and the one and only Khan the Betrayer. So I don't really know what would be particularly thematic in terms of special rules to kind of drive the narrative aspect of Crusade. You can have sort of guesses, I guess, like the number of heads or something, or models slain by a particular unit equates, like, so therefore the number of scores you collect allows you to gain a blessing or something like that. I mean, it'd be interesting. I don't know. I'm quite excited about it, but also for me, Eldar, I've not forgotten them, so it'd be interesting to see what they get. And yeah, exciting times ahead with what they've come out with so far for this.
Yeah, well, that's as far as 40k tabletop goes. That we're up to date with the news as of now. But there's also been 2 other little bits of news. We've got a new wave of animations coming, Hammer and Bolter, which there's several episodes that they've shown off, or at least like announced. And the very interesting one, and the one that I think me and you both went collectively ooh at before actually watching this, before recording this, was the hired gun announcement, first person shooter. First off, we'll talk about Hammer and Bolter, basically another wave of animations. We know that the minds behind Astartes and various other studios have now been obviously working with GW to bring out their style of animations, and we mentioned I mentioned that earlier on. I think a couple of weeks back, or maybe It probably wasn't even that long ago, a couple of days ago. Basically, that's good news. It just shows you that the community, sometimes when you work hard in your community, it does get noticed, and it's really appreciated. But these animations, I mean, just thinking of some of the pictures now, some of them, I know they're stilled images, but some of them look really good, don't they? Particularly a Question of Faith one. I sort of like. I think that's pretty interesting. Basically, what we've got here, like we've got Death's Hand, which is an Inquisitor focus one. I don't think these are going to be interlinked stories, and these are all just going to be like standalone episodes for the series. But they all take place in the 40k universe, and they all look pretty interesting. I mean, what were you saying earlier, Chris, about the animation style?
I don't know, like certain ones, not everything. And there is a link in that article somewhere which allows you to watch a sort of a trailer which has a selection of different clips from all the different episodes. I think you are right. This series is made up of, these are just singular episodes rather than it's a series for A Question of Faith. Could be wrong, but that's kind of the impression I'm getting. But certain ones have kind of they look to have just a modern take on traditional anime. It's so a traditional anime sort of art style. So yeah, I really like the look of it. The quality looks good. I'm hoping it's like, in terms of like obviously the voice acting and everything they get in it, that that's up to the standard. It'd be interesting. I can't see it in here, but it'd be good to know like how many studios, who the studios are that have been involved with these. And I don't know if anyone else is kind of getting this vibe. Well, it's pretty obvious actually. It's not so much of a vibe. It's the writings on the wall. But GW are definitely ramping up, as I said before, like ramping up what they're putting out on all fronts. And it's it's definitely moved out of the niche sort of sector and market into the sort of, it's becoming more mainstream now. It's like, again, with the release of what we're going to talk about in a second, which is the Hired Gun. That's obviously coming out on all the major platforms. It looks really good. These animations look very good, and it's just obviously it's hitting more and more sort of mediums now. So you're going to start seeing a lot more people sort of gaining interest, I think, into the whole narrative side of it and kind of getting into the hobby, hopefully. So yeah, it just seems to be. I'll just say, yeah, GW. I doubt they're listening, but if you are, good job on everything so far. Like, you are really, yeah, you're doing well. So.
Well, speaking of Hired Gun, I mean, I only saw the trailer for this literally before we started recording, and I've got to say it does look very good. I mean, the publisher is Focus, so obviously they've got the money behind it. Focus I think Focus do a lot of like sort of like mid-tier games. They've done Sinking City. They did Vampire or whatever it is. They don't tend, from my recollection, to do massive like uber AAA kind of stuff or publish for that kind of thing. But the actual developers behind Hired Gun are. Is it called Steer 'em On? Is it Steer 'em On or Steer 'em On? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
But these are the guys behind Space Hulk Deathwing, and me and you've played Space Hulk Deathwing, and I wouldn't say it's an amazing game. By no stretch of the imagination, was it mind blowing? It was a good game, but the one thing I'd say in its favor was it felt very 40k. The environments were oppressively 40k in a good way, and I think you could agree with me on that. Like I say, I put a few hours into the game.
Yeah,
before obviously
it's short lived. The game it didn't have a lot of, I don't know, end game material or anything to sort of to keep you interested past maybe the 20-hour mark. So yeah, you kind of at a certain point, because you're just doing the same missions over and over and over again, just on a slightly different difficulty, and also the level design is practically the same across all of it. Yeah, it does get it kind of, you get bored of it pretty quick, but the design, the animations, everything in terms of just gameplay is great in that sense. So I just thought from watching the trailer for this, though, it kind of very much made me think of Doom, but set in 40k.
I got the similar sort of vibe as well, but it does say in the blurb and in the article that the writers and designers of Games Workshop, I'm literally reading it now, have worked hand in hand with the developers. So it gives me a little bit of hope that knowing that if they have worked closely with the writers and the designers of GW, they would have taken that their already understanding of the 40k universe and basically tightened the screws on that, made it what they had but better. Because I think this is a single player driven game, which is good. Because the industry for a long time has been telling us single player is dead. It's all about live service multiplayer bullshit, which obviously recently I think the community have turned around to start to mainstream AAA game industry and said resolutely, no, it's not. Whether they listen or not, that's a different thing. In fact, we know they don't listen. But hopefully this Hired Gun is just that, a good story-driven first-person shooter set in the 40k universe. I mean, like in an Underhive, in like the Hive, Necromunda, which is soaked in lore in and of itself. So if they stay true to that and keep it focused on good gameplay, like really refine that gameplay, and keep the story 40k, then it can only do well. It can only do well. And if it does do well, like you said, Chris, it will just push. It'll push 40k and Warhammer itself more and more into like a wider sort of view. And a lot of people might say, well, that could be a bad thing because there's always that danger of like I don't want to say watering down because that's not quite the case, but when
you try to do too much too quickly and it ends up having a negative impact on it, or you end up getting investors involved within the game and within the hobby in the company who might not have the same sort of its best interest at heart and are only interested.
Yeah.
I think that's the worry of they're only interested in turning a profit and they don't care what the result is ultimately, and what it does to the wider game and its core fan base. All I'd say is we have yet to sort of really see that. Yeah, GW hasn't got everything right, but they still seem to be listening to the fan feedback, and they do act on it. We talked about it in previous episodes on various things. They actually do seem to give a crap about what has been said, and rather than just that particular little project of ours didn't work, let's cast it aside, we'll stop that and move on to something else. They're actually trying to fix those things and get it to work. So I am not too concerned with stuff like that. I'd like to see it keep going. Maybe start branching out into doing sort of bigger productions, sort of stuff that's starting to hit maybe more of the mainstream streamers, streaming channels, Netflix or anything like that, Amazon.
Well, don't forget, Chris, we are getting that Eisenhorn TV. I think it's that Eisenhorn live action TV series coming.
Yeah, I am forgetting about that actually. Yeah, there is that coming out. Not heard anything on that for a while, so it'd be nice to hear an update on that. And then looking, going into film, be it animated. I think the beautiful thing about animation is that you have a lot more scope to do things, to do unbelievable things, whereas live action, it can be quite restrictive depending on your budget. and if you don't have a budget, it can quickly look quite cheesy. So I think animation, in a way, just allows you to kind of it allows it to be what it is, if you know what I mean. It allows it to be set in this crazy, future where everything's kind of blowing up and being ripped apart, and you can do a lot. Yeah, there's loads of potential with it. So it'd be interesting to see just what they end up doing going forward. So I'm excited.
That's the good thing about 40k the Winter, because everything is always fucked in one state of like being fucked or being about to be completely fucked. Like say, like you can't just land your ship and then get out and shoot some bad guys. The protagonists have got to be like super soldiers that are decked in the best armor, that are fired in what basically are giant metal fists at the planet that explode and burst out and shoot things to death. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if like they fucking strap themselves into robot dinosaurs and fucking launch themselves out. Everything's got to be ridiculous. Everything has got to be either like super ridiculous or super bleak. Like it doesn't matter if they win, because we all lose, because one thing or another will happen. And I think that's this. I think the satire is there in 40k. It's like it's good because everyone kills everyone else and nobody really cares. Because what was it said? What was the back of the blurb? What was it? You will die in the 40k universe and you won't be missed. Nobody will care. So you can just do whatever you want because nobody cares. And yeah. I always thought that's one of its strengths.
Yeah, I'd love to see perhaps an Underhive sort of. I mean, that could be done live action, sort of an Underhive series, on a big budget. That would be really cool to see. Yeah, I think that there's loads of scope for it. And as I've said, it definitely seems to be a case where GW is ramping up what it's putting out, like covering, like it's putting its fingers in all the pies. And at the moment, they're all cherry pies. They're all sweet. Everything seems to be going well. Not necessarily all of them, but
not necessarily everything.
But they are doing well. So on the whole, so yeah, I'm feeling fairly positive about it. Let me know what you think. Maybe you disagree with me.
Yeah, let us know what you guys think in the comments section below. But yeah, we appreciate that. It was just pretty rambly for a new sort of episode, but we kind of got off on a tangent there. But yeah, let us know what you guys think in the comment section down below. But until then, me and Chris, we'll catch you all next time. See you later, everyone.
Bye.